New card. What do you think?
Get over here! Hadouken!
That man is playing Galaga.
I understood that reference.
You shall not pass!
So say we all.
So say we all. Ride with me.
It's adamantium-tasting time, boys!
Well, make it so, number one.
All wings report in.
And welcome to your weekly interval. This is the Best Damn Nerd Show. I am your host, Microphone Alchemist Bimbo Jimbo. With me tonight, Hall of Fame cyber athlete Jonathan Craig.
How's it going?
Going well. Final boss, Chris Seglia.
Oh, I'm supposed to say something. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
and welcome. Professor Chris Davis.
I'm going to just say it now because it's not going to get said later. Nightfire.
God
Play
damn it.
It's a good game. Nightfire.
And
Go look it
you're
up.
kicked off the episode. Goodbye,
Can we edit
Can I
this?
just leave?
Yeah.
Like, this is an expert.
No, we should actually
game.
we should just bleep out the name of the game so people listening are just like, what game is he talking about?
It's like when Mark back in the day shoehorned in a reference to the movie Tusk because he wanted to talk about it and I refused. And the way he did, I just introduced him. He was like, "How about that movie Tusk?" And that's how he said hello. Well, welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. If Davis's Nightfire reference didn't cue you off, which I'm sure it didn't, we are going to be talking about multiplayer first-person shooters tonight on the Best Damn Nerd Show. Some of our favorite games, some of our, I think, most frustrating moments. Controllers have been broken. Rivalries
Keyboards
have been started. Yeah, joysticks, keyboards, all were punished. Well, not joysticks, but keyboards. All were punished.
As you guys can tell, James is an expert.
Yeah, clearly. I'm however you
James considers
PC
Mech
gamers
Warrior.
do it.
Do you remember the original Mech Warrior where you could like dual joystick it?
I do remember
Flight
that.
Simulator?
I always liked the joystick for like Rogue Squadron or Rebel Assault or whatever it was. All right, but we are going to be talking about first-person shooters, specifically more so on the multiplayer side. But we are going to start by getting into their origins. And when we first brought this up as a potential talking point, a potential episode, the first game, and apropos, that was one of the first ones, if not the very first, that pops into my head that I have a lot of fond memories is a Wolfenstein 3D. I love that game, and I still do. Like I would play that right now and probably have the same level of enjoyment. Were you guys all in on Wolfenstein 3D, John?
Yeah, I played that. I played Doom. Like all the original, where you would get like 32 floppy disks for your computer. And play with, like, your keys, like...
It was like gory Oregon Trail.
Yeah, I'm shocked that my parents let me play it because I think I was like 6 years old. Like, talk about like I mean I don't know.
Seriously, we
Check
were way
in
too
again
young.
in 5 years, but I don't know if Mason's gonna be playing Doom. In 5 years.
The only time I was allowed to play these games were going to Fry's Electronics or the equivalent to Best Buy now, essentially, and playing these games on PC.
They would just let children play it there?
Yeah, who cares?
What kind of
The
establishment?
90s were awesome, man.
When
There were no
Davis,
rules.
they see talent, they let it go. Okay.
They foster it. Yeah.
Davis is so removed from the 90s, he forgets how awesome they were.
But I wasn't able to play it for very long because I used to get motion sickness from all these games because it was so fucking choppy that I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Davis, no Wolfenstein for you?
No Wolfenstein, but Duke Nukem and Doom. But
dude.
I could only play them at friends' houses because we never had a computer good enough that could actually play them.
Yeah.
Nor would my parents let me play them. I had good parents, so they would.
Great parents.
But Duke Nukem, I probably played that more than the others because it was so much more fun. There's the busty babes and the great sayings.
Was that the one with the strip club?
Yes. It
Yeah.
It had a lot of things. My favorite thing, and I feel like that game groomed me to be a first person shooter player, and maybe a lot of people. Like, I think that game kind of set the tone for like the trash talk in the first person shooter community, because like as a kid playing this game, you're listening to the character and like you do something cool in the game and he's like, chew on this or whatever. Like he's like talking shit the whole time. It's what a great.
It's really the worst shit talking too. There's not much to it,
I'm
but
here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum.
Yeah, which you ripped off from Roddy Piper, by the way. But
doesn't matter, dude. Doesn't matter.
The Rock did very well, though.
What is that?
The Rock did very well in that role.
Oh God, Doom the movie. I mean that actually is another talking point that we don't have on our rundown in terms of other first-person shooters that we would like to see become movies. And Wolfenstein is one for me, but essentially they kind of did it in everything but name with Overlord. But I still would be down to see a Wolfenstein movie. And that one for me was like, dude, you're killing Nazis. I was like quasi learning about World War II because I didn't really have like a concept of what the Gestapo were until Wolfenstein 3D. I was like, oh, this is like the Nazi police force. I was like, well, let's kill those bastards too.
Dude, it's amazing that you got all this story from these games because my only memory of them is just going around and killing shit.
It's me.
That's it. I know.
That's all I do.
Like the story in like Doom and all these games is so flimsy, and
Hey,
honestly.
Could you even say what the story was in Doom?
The portal to hell is opened, and you're a hero that has to try to close it. I mean, I don't
Is that it?
Sounds probably a lot like Diablo, dude. Honestly, part of it is that I played the originals and like haven't touched these games since then because I'm more focused on like multiplayer, which is what this show is about. But definitely like have a lot of respect for these original games and crashed many family computers trying to load up games that like they weren't capable of playing yet.
I don't recall Wolfenstein being one that was a crasher because I know, Davis, you mentioned the fact you didn't have a computer. Yeah, it was so simple that
Doom was if you did like the no clip mode and just like ran through walls and all that, like you could like bug your shit out very easily.
In the early releases, Quake, I know there's an argument to be made that it certainly is one of the most important games in the history of the sort of first-person shooter genre because of like the competitive community around it. It came out in '96. I never really got super into Quake. Who among you were Quake players? Johnny?
I didn't play the original Quakes that much, although my science teacher in 7th grade we had a lot of computers in his room. Dude, again, something about the 90s were just awesome. He had a bunch of computers in his room and he installed Quake on all of them, and so we would we would go there at lunchtime and like LAN and shoot at each other for an hour. But other than that, like I didn't really play the Quake franchise a lot. I played Quake Live a little bit, which was like the one that you could launch out of a browser when we were all in college. But aside from that, like I have a lot of respect for Quake and the Quake community because I feel like a lot of the guys that came out of that were some of the best first-person shooter players because they had incredible aim and they could play at really high speeds. But yeah, I don't know. Definitely a fun franchise.
I guess which of the before I ask my next question, so you talking about how they had it installed on computers. So at my high school, some kid got Tribes installed on all of the computers in the computer lab.
It was free.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. So the computer lab teacher had no idea what was going on, and all of a sudden there like the Tribes community popped up at PG High. And
he has no idea what's going on until one of you guys jumps out of your chair and calls another guy a pussy or something.
The proto Halo. No, that's exactly what it was because it'd be like you'd be at the back of the classroom and like some movie would be on and somebody would be like, "Oh, you son of a bitch!" And like that's how the jig was up. And that's what got us in trouble. Was that? But you talking about Quake being installed is like, oh God, yeah, that's right. There was a whole like active Tribes deal for a little while at school. But of those early first-person shooters, which one do you sort of look back on like the most fondly? Which one had the most profound impact? I think I've demonstrated that for me, it's obviously Wolfenstein 3D. I love that fucking game. But how about you, Davis?
I definitely got to stick with Duke Nukem on that. Again, it's just there's too many images that stick with you, and it's probably just the skimpy girls. As a young kid going through there,
you know what?
I mean,
that will do the trick.
Dude,
I hate to say it, but that's probably what
You
resonated
definitely
the
committed
most
those
of the
images
time.
to memory and recalled them time and time again.
What has befallen them? The Duke Nukem franchise too. I feel like the rest of the world's just sort of like passed it by.
There's a new movie coming out with John Cena.
Yeah, and they did.
I hope it's
a
good.
game a few years ago.
Yeah, they did try a new game, but the Doom franchise does stayed relevant much better.
And same with Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein has had some new versions lately that have been cool.
They have been very good. Yeah, I still love the OG one though. But John Cena playing Duke Nukem, I mean, is that his like sort of transformation into The Rock is almost complete with The Rock being in Doom, and now John Cena doing that. It's just like, oh my God, his career just mirroring The Rock's. Hopefully, I mean, got a good career for him. So let's move on to some of the play some of the hits. And the question that is posited here is, did multiplayer first-person shooters peak too soon? And the reason why I ask this is because in 1997, one of the greatest video games of all time came out, and it still holds up to this day. I don't care what the graphics look like, but GoldenEye for Nintendo 64 is one of the goats of video games, certainly on the Mount Rushmore of first-person shooters in my estimation. So your just overall thoughts on GoldenEye and when it came out, and just how much was this a phenomenon for you, Davis?
Yeah, GoldenEye obviously.
Not Nightfire.
You sure? We could spend the next 30
No.
minimum on Nightfire. No.
Second, sure.
Golden...
It was shit.
I think, I don't know if it's peaked too early because of how well games are doing now, but it's just a different conversation, because in GoldenEye, it was all in the same room, and it just created so much more of an experience, I feel like. And that's why we remember it so great, is because you have friends that come over and play on the same screen. You're getting, tattled on for screen watching. You're, trying to make ways of splitting the screen up into 4 ways. You're putting blankets up or cardboard, trying to split it so nobody can screen look. And
blankets?
Yeah, you had to set up chairs on either side of the TV, tighten the blankets across the TV that you got your one.
Shit, dude.
Yeah,
that is incredible.
Intense.
It would take away John's best strategy.
And this continued. This continued through all the games. Like Halo, always happened to Halo, but GoldenEye itself, I mean, slappers only. There's some modes on there.
Dude, proximity mines only was the shit.
Proximity, that was just chaos, absolute chaos.
It was.
There
And then
were some modes on there, like DK mode. Why? Like, whoever wanted to play DK mode, I don't understand. It was not my jam.
And you really understood the personality of somebody by the character they chose. I was like, if you choose Odd Job, you're just an asshole.
Yeah.
Or your favorite Bond movie happens to be Goldfinger,
as James
which
has
is
admitted
to
in
this
previous
day.
episodes. Odd Job was his character. Which, as soon as someone picks that character, you look at any game, and there's always some annoying little cheese strategy that people use. People that chose Odd Job back then, they've done the cheese strategy in every game since then. Name your favorite video game. James has done the cordiest shit ever in that game.
Oh my God. So because people complain so much about Odd Job, and as discussed in a previous episode, is that the creators of GoldenEye got it confused, is that they made Knick Knack. They gave him the look and body type of Odd Job, but they gave him the size of Knick Knack from the Man with the Golden Gun, and put him into the game, which doesn't even make sense. The Odd Job's in the game because the Golden Gun's in there, and there's not really anything Goldfinger. Anyway, I digress. We'll circle back to that, and I want to circle back to screen looking. But Seglia, what was your sort of experiences with GoldenEye? Were you huge into the GoldenEye phenomenon?
Yeah, I was a preteen, so obviously I didn't have an N64 growing up, so I had to go to friends' houses with it. Yeah, I know. My parents didn't like video games, so that's why I became obsessed with them later. Thanks, Mom. But yeah, so we would go over to friends' houses, and all these things about screen looking that Davis pointed out with the blankets and the cardboard and whatever. Everybody remembers all that, but what they don't remember is that was on a 13-inch television. Do you remember how hard that is? That is why I'm wearing glasses to this
I know,
day.
dude. That's so funny because as you guys were describing it, I'm imagining it on like a 40-inch TV.
Yep, no,
which
not
none
possible.
It's
of
like,
us
yeah, that's
had.
not so bad.
maybe a 32.
We were playing
Max.
4-player on a 20-inch screen,
Yeah.
which is like half the size that I have in front of me right now, essentially, and it was horrible.
With terrible screen contrasting, trying to find your way through the temple, just awful.
Resolution.
The caves, the caves.
The last time I played
caves.
GoldenEye competitively with my friends, I haven't talked to those people since.
Yeah.
John, how about you? What was your sort of GoldenEye? I mean, I know I've dueled with you several times at your apartment. This was way after N64 days, though. But at peak time, what was it like for you?
See, I was an N64 kid, and that was like my last console, and I played the hell out of it. And GoldenEye was definitely a staple. And I just have a lot of memories of like my cousins coming over and all of us, playing it in every which mode, every which way. I mean, it's just a great game, and it was revolutionary in so many ways. And I think like one of the underrated ways that it changed shooters was it was the first really popular game to allow you to control your aim with one of the joysticks on the controller. And prior to that, I think everything had been auto aim, like you kind of aim in the general direction. And it gave you like fine aim, which was really, really cool. It's just a great game. And, as you guys are describing it and talking about like monitor sizes and all that, I can't help but to think like people, like you could look back on it now on your 24-inch, 4K monitor or 24 is small. Most people have bigger than that on their computers now. And like look at screenshots and be like, oh my God, the graphics were so shitty. But on those old TVs, low resolution didn't look that bad because like the TVs were low resolution and kind of blurry anyway, so like it all just blurs into one thing. And I do remember like playing that game and showing my mom and being like, doesn't this look so realistic?
Looks like Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah. Like it felt so real. And then I look at games now and I'm like, Jesus, man, these kids are like in that world, and we're gonna look back in another 10 years and be like, God, that stuff looks so corny.
Completely different topic, but yeah, Lara Croft looked hot back in the day, and now it's like, oh God. Oh God.
Xenia Onatopp and I had some good nights.
Oh my goodness. But keeping with the GoldenEye track, I mean, definitely was just a landmark phenomenon of a shooter. Like, and it I think it still has this just love and enduring appeal today. I didn't have an N64 for a little while. My brother got the N64. I got the PlayStation at first, and so the console war was sort of alive and well in the household kind of deal. And I would sneak up to his room when he was not there and play GoldenEye, and that's how. So I'd have to go to like the whatever dossier he'd already beaten the whole game on or whatever, so as to not sort of leave any footprints or fingerprints that I had been in there.
In your own house?
In my own home. But that's just the way it was. But it was just such a great game. And yes, I did play as Oddjob because he was my favorite character. But once I got griefed for the choice, and I understand because of the overt shortness, which is not accurate to the character, I switched to Siberian Special Forces or the Trevelyan if he wasn't already taken otherwise. But some of my favorite memories of video games in general come from GoldenEye. What was your go-to weapon? Because I'm RCP-90 all the way. Like that to me is the GOAT weapon from GoldenEye and really from any shooter. That's I think my favorite video game gun period is the GoldenEye RCP-90. Davis, were you the AK? What was your go-to? Slapper.
Remember. I mean,
the golden gun.
Nothing felt better than just coming up from behind somebody and slapping them from the back and just taking them down.
Throwing knives were very rewarding.
So hard though.
some incredibly rewarding when you could get them. Somebody walking into your mine trap and you just hear the huge explosion and the James Bond sounder, happening.
The proximity mines are great and all, but there's something very pleasurable about the remote mines when you're triggering it right when you see the guy and you're in control of it. That felt really good. I do think I was an RCP-90 first, but I did love the Magnum as well. I remember
Magnum's a good one.
Magnum guy.
That is definitely a good one. Segs, did you have a go-to GoldenEye gun?
I really liked the pistols in there. The Silence PP7, I think, was my favorite one. But real big shocker that the two worst shooter players here picked the most crazy unbalanced gun with the RCP-90.
Yeah.
No wonder he picks Oddjob and the RCP-90.
And slappers only.
That combo was the chef's kiss, baby.
Yeah. Before balance changes were a thing, like that would be the first thing we patched out. But yeah, between that and then the rocket launchers were fun, and I like the remote mines. I thought we always banned proximity mines because that was zero skill, zero.
True.
So
proximity mines, I feel like proximity mines had no place unless you were specifically playing proximity mines only. But then,
and then that was
depending
boring.
on the map, you just kind of camp.
Yeah, because you play in the facility and then you just place them above the toilet,
doors,
and then somebody would start in the vent and they'd be screwed the whole time. It's like, well, that's fucked up.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Fair.
I don't remember any other map other than the temple.
Oh, the facility
was good.
The temple was it's like
Complex.
It's the Dust 2 of
Complex.
GoldenEye. Like it should be immortalized.
Complex was great because it had multiple routes too. That's a good map.
There was a debate when GoldenEye was at its height between the RCP-90 and the AR-33 assault rifle in terms of which gun was better. I definitely, as sort of discussed, leaned heavily into RCP-90, but I do feel like the more skilled sort of shooter players went to the assault rifle route. But I was all about spraying with that RCP-90, man. That was
spray and pray.
Weird.
You could get 80 bullets out.
Yeah, exactly. It was great.
Before two with the
it was great.
The AR-33.
My game plan is sprinting to where I knew the RCP-90 was.
Yeah, as with every fucking Christmas noob in the game.
Christmas noob.
Oh, man.
I love the AR-33, but I'm with Seglia. Like something about the pistols just felt so satisfying, and honestly, like one of my favorite modes was like one shot kill or like golden. Just everyone has a golden gun because it felt like it's just quick draw. Like
very true.
Who has the fastest reflexes can aim the fastest. Like there's just something very satisfying about a one shot kill.
Well, that was the cool thing about it. You do pistols and you do license to kill mode. Yeah, that was such a fun combination, and it was so tense. It was so tense.
Yeah.
But the question I wanted to ask was about screen looking, which definitely railed against and caused many arguments as a kid. And Davis illustrated like the lengths that some people would go to sort of try and mitigate that. What were sort of what is your opinion about screen looking? Is there a way of policing it? It should have like just your overall thoughts on like that phenomenon, because like when Halo and stuff came out and you could do like the LAN party, like there were times where it'd be like, yeah, you play in one room, I'm gonna play over here, and that took care of it. We didn't have that option with GoldenEye. What is sort of your take on the screen looking crime, Segs?
Don't play with your best friends.
It's true. Cause many a fight.
Honestly, it's worse than murdering somebody, in my opinion. Like it's cheating.
Despicable.
It's despicable.
It's cheating.
It's it's heinous. It makes me sick.
Yeah, I you know what? Cosign on that. John, do you think is screen looking cheating or gamesmanship?
Oh, of course it's cheating. I mean, it takes the fun out because then you can like pre-aim and pre-fire people, which I guess like GoldenEye kind of taught us how to do that for the first time.
Yes,
in a way.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, it's despicable. I remember I went home from college one year for Christmas, and I went to a friend's house and he loaded up GoldenEye. And we were playing on Complex, and I was like crawling through the vents, and he. Before I even came out of the vent or like poked my gun out, he one shot me in the head through the vent.
Yeah.
And I scream.
He's not even trying to make it look.
I threw the controller on the ground. I started screaming, and he tried to pull the shit where he's like, "Dude, your gun was sticking out." I was like, "Why were you aiming at the vent, dude? You shot.
Ridiculous.
It's not like you were aiming like through the vent. Like you were aiming. He shot me through the wall. Like he was up at a high angle and shot me like through the wall into the vent. I was like, dude, there's no way
that's
you can
cheating.
do that. Yeah, and it just became,
and that's no fun.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing. There are certain levels on GoldenEye where it might have been complex, where you can hide in that one vent that you can slide through, and then there's nothing to do but just point and wait. But that's a two-way street, because if you don't see the guy for a little while, then it's like, oh well, I wonder where he is, and so it's just like kind of a guessing game at that point. But yeah, screen looking. I'm glad that so far we're 3 for 3 that it's cheating and not gamesmanship. Davis, you're coming down on the other side. Shocker. Davis, come on, man.
I mean, let's put it this way. We talked about how big...
They probably encourage that shit in Nightfire or whatever the fuck that game is.
Probably.
We talked about
how
how
giving
big...
you little tips on how to do it.
How big were the screens? They were 20 inch. We were playing 32 inch.
My
vision is that screen.
No.
I'm sorry if my peripheral kind of catches where you're at. All right? I'm sorry. It's just going to happen. And you know what? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Davis,
so
wow.
I've been friends for a very long time.
That's what it comes down to, right?
We've been friends for a very long time. You're not that observant.
Davis would seldom look at his own screen. He would only play off of other people's.
I was always an advocate for like trying to create the boxes so we couldn't do it. But if they're like, no, it's cool. I'm like, well, then your shit's right there, man, and I'm gonna do it.
And
so
Davis is one of those people that screen looks so hard is that he would run into the wall because he was solely looking at somebody else's screen.
He never looked at his own,
man.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, Davis. I'm disappointed in you.
But not shocked.
No. Yeah, that's true.
It's hard. It's a hard restraint, man. You know, your eye just
like they're definitely
way.
Like if you were playing with sort of men of honor. It's like if you accidentally screen look, you spin around and you give like a 10 count. It's like you gotta do a quick reset in to keep the integrity of the game alive. Davis.
Maybe after I get the kill, but
so bad.
This brings up something I was thinking about, like pre-COVID days. Like people would have poker nights and things like that with their friends, which I always thought was the dumbest thing possible because
never bring money into it, but it was fun.
Well, I mean, whatever. Like money is money. Like if you want to bring money into that or whatever, but like you would either call your friends a liar and literally call them on it, or you would know your friend's lying and you would let them win, essentially. Then that's pretty much what is, if you had somebody like a screen looker in your game for that. And Davis is definitely that.
Davis is
in poker?
Yeah.
Why would you cheat in poker? No.
Not cheating, but just
it's more like
bluffing.
You know, saying that if you don't know who the sucker is in the room, it's probably you.
Oh yeah. No, that was my friends. I took their money.
something not adding up here with Davis.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah. Well, be a better poker player.
Instead of playing for fun, you would just play to win.
Fun. Video games aren't fun.
Talk about money, man. I need to buy more video games to screen look.
That's exactly my point.
Well, no, that is maybe the silver lining of the pandemic, is that now no one's around to screen look. It's that we all have to just be online and actually trust our instincts and everything like that. I would now, like, given this conversation, love to have a 4-player GoldenEye game with you and just see how egregious Davis is at screen looking. I won't pick Odd Job. Just leave me the Siberian Special Forces or Trevelyan, or I'll be forced to do what I must. So
I'll be Jahns.
Those are my characters.
But good luck using those controls, man. That N64 controller is not an easy one to pick back up.
No, I mean, dude, for its time,
it's great.
It was
fantastic.
Great. It was dynamic. It offered new ideas for controls, but yeah, looking back, like the controllers have definitely been vastly improved since then.
It was an odd choice for a controller that worked at the time.
Dude, one of the funny things about GoldenEye is that everybody only really talks about their multiplayer anymore. It had a great first person shooter campaign mode too. Like that,
the
story mode for Goldeneye was also awesome. It just is so overshadowed by the fact that their multiplayer for the time, was the best that we'd ever seen. And it also begat Perfect Dark, which I think is an underrated game, despite being a sort of a Goldeneye reskin. In many respects, a Golden. In many respects, a Goldeneye reskin, but and it forced you to buy that ridiculous memory card expander for the N64. Yeah, the expansion pack. But I love Perfect Dark. The laptop gun, ladies and gentlemen, it's essentially a proximity mine machine gun. Amazing.
This is the first remake or sequel that you've ever liked, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I really enjoyed it. And you could do co-op story mode. The one thing that I really wanted to highlight with Perfect Dark, and Davis, even though now you're an admitted enthusiastic screen looker, I will look to you for your support. But the Perfect Dark multiplayer that let you level up, like you had a character that you would level up and you gain certain rankings and everything. You could also customize how they look and everything. I thought that was awesome, and that was something unique to Perfect Dark that I hadn't experienced before. That I loved Perfect Dark. I played the shit out of that game.
And you're gonna tell me you did screen look so you could level up your character like that?
No, dude, no.
You wanted that next gear. I know you.
A hollow victory. A hollow victory is no victory. I didn't want it that way.
So we know Davis did.
Davis is just admitting it.
I'm sorry, I wanted the next skin for that gun. I'm not going to pay for it like they have to now.
What? I shouldn't be surprised because once again, I'll tell this story. A guest in Davis's home, I was. And this is earlier on in our friendship. I am just meeting for the first time his two female roommates. And he nerd rages. I think he was playing Gears or some other shooter, smashes the Xbox controller on his coffee table, creates this dent, and his roommate comes in and she goes, Who put a dent in our coffee table? I was like, oh, I think it might have been James. and Tim Childs
There's no honor
comes
amongst
in.
thieves.
Tim, the Sherlock Holmes of the whole outfit, comes in. He sees the Xbox controller on the ground. He picks it up and he puts it in the divot. He's like, it fits perfectly. Davis did this. And then he admitted to it. You're a bastard, Davis. I was a guest in your home.
This is after years of, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse because we're going to talk about some Xbox games later, but this is after years of me sitting down to play Xbox and the controller not working and being like, what happened? Is it out of battery? What happened here? But it's just because Davis raged. He rages.
Yeah, come on. You saw Omar play too. He was one of our roommates.
We all rage. I'm not above the rage. Trust me.
We all have those moments.
Yeah.
We definitely all have those
very
moments.
singular moments. They don't happen much, right?
Davis, I do think you've mellowed over the years, but
you
haven't lived with him or near where I am in years.
Yeah, that's true.
It's hard.
That's true.
It's hard to be so passionate when you can only get so much time these days. When that's all we had to do in college, and you thought you should be better, and we weren't. we just weren't.
All right. Well, we're gonna pick up with the first-person shooters more on the other side on the Best Damn Nerd Show, and I think John is going to have a vested interest in some of the ones we're talking about next. Coming up.
So, Tim, we're relaunching the Best Damn Nerd Show, but before we give our listeners any content, it's time to make a couple dollars.
Yeah, and I'm all about selling out. So, give me the money.
This episode is actually sponsored by Anchor.fm. We also use them as our podcast host. And they're really great because it's a free platform. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your phone or computer. They also distribute the podcast, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Hence, this sponsorship read right now.
Well, that sounds perfect because I love money and I love things that are easy. So how do I get involved with Anchor?
It is easy money. It's free money. I mean, you're basically losing money if you don't start a podcast on Anchor.fm. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. You just got to download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started.
I'm on my way.
All right, on with the show.
All right.
Hey everyone, Chris Seglia here, CEO of the Tenno Media Network. I would like to say thank you for checking out one of our podcasts, but we need your help. You can support Tenno in a multitude of ways. By going to our website and checking out our latest podcasts, by buying some sweet merch, joining our Discord, or getting early and exclusive access to all content via our Patreon. Your support means the world to us, and you can find everything on our website, www.ten-o.gg. That's ten-o.gg. Thank you again, and now, back to the show.
It's me, Iron Nerd Min-Maxer, Hanzo Gonzo, inviting you into the Tenno Media Arena to see whose nerdiness will reign we're gonna get sued if you will triumph a lotly. Come check out all the battles on the Tenno Media Network Patreon, or you can just skip to the parts where Steve physically breaks something for no reason. See you there.
It's the microphone alchemist Bimbo Jimbo here, of course, formerly the Jedi Master, and we are so happy to be back delivering to you the nerdy content that you need to make it through your Muggle work week. And we want to hear from you, Nerdosphere, so be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Zunes, or other non-name brand MP3 playing devices everywhere, or however you consume your weekly interval. Whether you agree with me that The Last Jedi was a crime against Star Wars, or that you think that my hosting warrants being mauled by a bear, leave us a 5-star review, make us laugh, smile, or cry in that review, and there is a good chance that you will hear it read on a future episode of the Best Damn Nerd Show. So be sure to rate and review us. It's the best way that you can help the BDNS keep saying it loud and proud for years to come. Welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. Bimbo Jimbo with Chris Seglia, Chris Davis, Jonathan Craig, and we are talking first-person shooters with an emphasis on multiplayer. But I want to kick it over to John for a few good minutes here because early on in the Best Damn Nerd Show, our friendship, John, you talked a lot about Half-Life and just, you know, how impactful that game was to you and how much you enjoyed playing it. And that's something that completely sort of missed my radar when I was coming up. I've never really played the Half-Life series, and I definitely, in talking to you, feel like I missed out. So if you could wax poetic about the importance of Half-Life for our listeners, I think there are a lot that would appreciate that, to give them their love.
Yeah, so Half-Life is a PC game that has been ported to consoles, I'm sure, at this point. But it came out in, 1998? And it was a revolutionary game because it was one of the first-person shooters that had like a deep, enriching story, didn't cut to cutscenes, but integrated the cutscenes like directly into the game, and had a lot of like intense, suspenseful moments and thriller moments, and kind of combined like action and sci-fi and a lot of different things. And it was just a great story first-person shooter with a lot of cool moments. But I was captured by Half-Life. Not just Half-Life, the single player mode, but I was also captured by Half-Life because it also took the concept of modding, which other games had done before, Quake had done before, several PC games had, but it took it to the next level. And actually some Half-Life mods became ultimately, I think, more successful than Half-Life itself, or at least more recognizable. And the one that captured my heart was Counter-Strike, which was like a, terrorist versus counter-terrorist game. It's, think like search and destroy on Call of Duty. I mean, I feel like everyone's kind of familiar with Counter-Strike at this point, but I was introduced to both Half-Life from my cousin and then Counter-Strike a year later when that came out from the same cousin, and we just played constantly. Yeah.
Is this the same cousin that shit themselves?
Dude, it's I was laughing earlier thinking, like, for those of you who remember the Sega Genesis episode, this is my cousin. I want to say his name, but I won't, out of respect. But he shit himself in an active video because he thought that they didn't have a bathroom. And then we got to the front to check out our games. Turns out they did have a bathroom. So then he just had to ride home the whole way with Dookie in his shorts.
So
but
powerful
my cousin,
was his excitement for the Super Nintendo that he shat himself.
So this cousin was also like my intro into PC gaming in general. Cause like, you know, I said before, like we had a family computer, like pretty much all of us did. And it was just a shitty office computer that could run like Doom or whatever. But like by the time Half-Life came out, you know, you really needed like graphics cards and like you needed like good processors and you needed like enough storage on your hard drive to like run these games. And I didn't have any of that. So this cousin would like give me his like old parts and I would mod the family computer. So like that era, and I think part of the reason I hold Half-Life and Counter-Strike like so special is because that was also like my deep dive into like PC culture and modding your PC and upgrading your PC and like saving up your allowance for parts or stealing. I think the statute of limitations is up on this, so I'll just tell you what my hack was. I don't think it works anymore, but please write in with your hack. Basically, you know, new video cards would come out like every year. So I'd go to Best Buy, I'd buy a new graphics card, I'd bring it home, I would put it into my computer, I would take the old one, put it back in the box, and then I'd return it. So I always had like the latest and greatest graphics card in my computer. It was a great hack. Never got caught ever.
Man,
it might have been Best Buy. It might have been Circuit City. We don't know. We'll never know.
Say Circuit City because they're 6 feet under.
I single-handedly brought them down, dude.
It was a great scam.
Circuit City's gonna come after John.
Yeah, great scam. Like, well, I used to work there, so it was probably me exchanging. Be like, there you go, sir. Go price check batteries. You we don't fuck.
Know. Yeah.
How long does the return policy last? That's absurd.
30 days.
Oh no, I would turn it.
But he's putting it in the new. Day. Yeah, exactly. So he's putting the old one in the new box.
Oh. Oh
yeah,
wow!
It's like the equivalent of like buying like an Xbox Series X and then returning your Xbox.
You're on some list now, I'm sure.
Dude, I really hope that was Circuit
allegedly,
City,
dude. I'm not saying I did this. I'm not saying I didn't do it. It could have happened.
You said the statute of limitations is up.
Yeah, and that's true. That's probably true.
You're telling me screen looking is worse than this?
I still think screen looking is way worse than this.
I played fair.
John is making a financial thievery, Davis, but you're stealing valor, which is way worse, dude.
Unbelievable.
Like way fucking worse, bro. Yeah. Don't even try and come back from what you just said, dude.
John's fighting the man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
John, I hope you were ripping off Circuit City. That would make me so happy, dude.
I'm not gonna say what store it was because I don't want to be sued, but definitely they had the graphics card hustle, and I would love to hear about other people's hustles, especially from back then. But dude, this honestly, like this era changed my life. Like N64 was my last console that I really played. From there, it was all PC all the time, and I've just played Counter-Strike like 24/7 until World of Warcraft came out like 5 years later. And I was playing Counter-Strike to the point like I would play probably 15 hours a day during the summer. Or if not more. I mean, 15 hours actually sounds like a light day.
Lord.
But we were like competing. Dude, we were competing in leagues. We would go to tournaments for this game. Like we had like a little team. We had a website. Like it was like before esports was a term. This was like as esports as it got. It was competitive gaming is what I think it was probably.
You were in
more
the competitive player league, bro. CPL.
Yep. I was. It was. And honestly, like I look back on those memories, I still have memories from competing with my cousin and my friends in that game and like going to tournaments and like things we would do in the game that are crystallized as if they are a real memory, like really happened. Like I could tell you things that they did, like rounds that they won, like clutch rounds in tournaments or whatever that like are so powerful memories that it's as if like they happened in real life because they did. Like we're engaging in this thing, but yeah, just such a meaningful game in my life. And I love where the franchise has gone. I did not like Counter-Strike Source, but I really like CSGO and I like that it's opened the door for more contemporary games and that a lot of the people who came up in that community have been successful like on Twitch and as content creators too.
Did you guys have like a weak link on your team and like you didn't know how to get him off the team? And
dude, yeah, we had so it was
like, where can you screen look?
So I look back on Counter-Strike in two phases. There was like the first phase where I was playing with like my cousin and my friends and some of his friends, and we were a little team and like we would rotate people in and out. And like a couple of us were taking it like serious and like trying to learn stuff. And then a couple of other people would just like show up for matches and like do whatever. and there was always at least one person who like was never where they were supposed to be. And Counter-Strike is a game where like you need people to like hold their positions. Like
Yes.
you can't just leave areas of the map totally unguarded. So like if we're expecting you to watch Catwalk and then someone comes through Catwalk and kills us, that's bullshit, dude. That's fucking bullshit. And you're gonna get flamed for the rest of the match. And like, we'll get to some of the toxic lobbies in other games later, and I want to explore that. But like, the toxicity in Counter-Strike is real. It's still real. These games are
still real to me,
ridiculously toxic, and the toxicity is like every little mistake you make gets picked apart and talked about in team chat for like the rest of the game, and it's very brutal. Like, it's a lot of accountability, and to me, I thought it was fun because it like added to the stakes and like made you want to get better. But I definitely, for some people, it just like puts out their flame and kills them. So,
well, and for you, it lit that flame because you're a Hall of Fame cyber athlete because of, in large part your role in pioneering Counter-Strike.
Yeah, and in a weird way, huh?
Counter-Strike was super cool. I played Zero, and I mean Zero Half-Life, but Counter-Strike was always cool. It actually gave me my start in video editing in the video world.
No kidding. Did not know that.
There's this guy named Synced. I don't know. He was a source frag video editor, and his videos was like super cool. And when I first got iMovie, I was like, I'm gonna do this, and it was super cool. But do you remember that E3 that we worked together?
Yep.
And it was you, me, and Richard Lee, who's at GameSpot.
And
now.
that's where they announced CS:GO. And we were playing it on PlayStation, and they had like the R2 button with like 180 you, which I was like, that's genius, because that's always been a problem with like first-person shooters on console.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but half of them, they had the mouse keyboard.
Yeah,
you could play on mouse keyboard. So that team was playing against the controller team.
Yeah.
And I was on the controller team for like the first 6 rounds of Counter-Strike. Now that I know that it's Dust 2, I went like 0-6 the first rounds, and then somebody in the back screamed, "Get off the sticks, you loser!" Like we were trying to play. I was like, "All right, motherfucker!" And then I think you were there for that. But I did like crack my knuckles. Like, all right, I figured it out, and I went like 20-7, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?" Just
dude, I'll still get in there and
I can't believe Davis would yell that at you.
I'll still get in there and take some ass. That was a great E3. That was my first E3, and you had me come in and like work with you guys, and that's where they announced CS:GO, and I just remember at the time like being so excited because I hated Counter-Strike Source and what it did to the community, and CS:GO felt so like authentic and like such a good callback to the original Counter-Strike, and it definitely was not met with warm reception, but over time it has become a juggernaut of a game, and it's kind of faded since battle royales have come out, but it's still a monster in its own right, and just such a great game. And Counter-Strike in general is just, it's just a classic competitive game. Like it's like the football of like esports, because it's incredibly easy to spectate. It's round based in the same way that a football game is like play based, and it's very like momentum and swing heavy. So it's just a very, very great, fun game.
I actually call it the basketball of sports, of esports, because I feel like League of Legends is esports, because if you don't play League of Legends, you have no idea what the fuck's going on.
True.
Zero idea what's going on. In basketball, you shoot the hoop, and you make it, and it makes sense, right?
So the context is easy.
So in Counter-Strike, you shoot a guy, they die.
Mm-hmm.
In Valorant, I guess in Valorant it makes it, but like in Call of Duty, it's respawn. In other respawn games like Halo and stuff, it's like, why did that guy just come out of nowhere and just shoot that guy
from
again?
Behind. Yeah.
In Counter-Strike, it's very simple to watch.
Yes.
I think it's a top 3 esport to watch. No doubt.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I would argue that like maybe fighting games are the easiest. Some fighting games are the easiest to watch. But Counter-Strike is definitely up there, because it's also very satisfying to like watch someone aim and like get really cool kills too, and like clutch rounds, and it's very tense because the bomb timer is beeping the whole time.
Yeah, there's a point to each round, That's why, like, fighting games, we're biased, right? But there is a point to every single thing, and it matters.
Yep.
In League of Legends, there's only one thing that matters, and it's at the very end of the game, right?
Yeah.
But in Counter-Strike, they do a very, very good job, and they learn this early on, is that the underdog wins sometimes, right?
Yes.
So they always put the camera on the person trying to clutch out a 1v2, or with a sniper rifle or something like that, so that they can tell a story. And that's very underrated in esports, and something that that Overwatch is not a good esport to watch, in my opinion.
True.
Because it doesn't have that.
I think it's really hard. I mean, this is going down a rabbit hole for sure, but I think it's really hard for all these games that have like all these shooters that have like very specific rules like that, because you kind of have to make some decisions about like which roles you're spectating first person, and they are first person shooters, so they're not as satisfying to watch in third person view. And when you're in first person, like you kind of want to be watching the guy that's like getting all the kills. So it kind of limits like your engagement with like all the players on the team, because like there's only, a couple guys playing those roles. But Counter-Strike, like anyone can make a great play that changes the entire game at any time. And there's just been so many great like memories. And honestly, and this is the last thing I'll say, I don't want to vamp too much about Counter-Strike, but it's also important to state, like, while Korea had StarCraft and this burgeoning esports competitive gaming community growing in their country, like Counter-Strike was that for America and Europe, and helped usher in this era of like mainstream competitive gaming, along with a couple other genres for sure. But Counter-Strike being so digestible, and guns being so like ingrained in our culture,
it's like the Mandalorian meme. Guns are part of my religion.
It took off here, and it couldn't have done that without Quake. And the genre has been even expanded further since like other games have come out, but Counter-Strike was a foundational game for this genre, and amazing. And I remember like playing it at the time and thinking that anyone who played Call of Duty was a bitch. But in retrospect, I realized the folly of my ways, because those are great games. But definitely, I was a snob about shooters for the entire time that I was playing Counter-Strike, because
I vaguely remember that, and how you would talk about that as well. I do want to. First of all, I thought that was a great conversation about a game that I didn't have a ton of experience with. When we discuss console versus PC shooting and stuff like that, I'll circle back to it. But I had a question. Is that the game, John, where you would grief people with the flashbangs?
Yes.
And can you please retell that story for our listeners?
Yeah.
But let's get back to the heart of the matter. That John is a Hall of Fame troll, not just a Hall of Fame cyber athlete.
Yeah. So like I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do in that game to troll. I mean, trash talking is essential in that game. I would talk trash to my teammates, to my opponents, to myself. Like if I did something crazy to an opponent first round, I would talk shit to them the entire rest of the game in public chat. But I would also talk trash to my teammates and like do stuff to throw their game off sometime. I did it more when I was playing with friends than when I was playing on like more competitive teams, because I would have been kicked off. But like in scrims or matches, sometimes I would like pop flash, or like I would like lob a flashbang in the air so it didn't hit the ground, so like they never heard it coming. And I would try to time it so like right before they peek around a corner, the flashbang goes off, and so their screen is full white and they die.
Such a dick move, dude.
It's great. Or sometimes you like shoot a teammate through a wall when like guys are about to push him, and the game has like you get like slowed a little bit when you get hit, so like it would like lock them in place. We were dirtbags, dude. We would troll the hell out of each other in that game. But there comes a point like when, especially like when you were scrimming a team that like wasn't as good as you, where it's like we gotta spice it up a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't want to just like 16-0 these guys and move on. Gotta make it
wow,
interesting.
the confidence. Okay, I want to move on from Counter-Strike before we get into some more of the meat of this first-person shooter conversation. I want to pour one out, and I want to put a spotlight on the third-person shooters that belong sort of in this conversation as well, even though not technically
flashbacks.
letter of the law qualify.
Flashbacks of his time at war in SOCOM.
Yeah, and one of those is SOCOM. One of those is SOCOM, and one of those is Gears of War. Let's start with SOCOM because Seglia.
Wait, hold on. Did you say pour one out for third-person shooters?
Well, okay, yes, I did, but not in the sense that they're dead.
You
but
mean the biggest game of all time right now, Fortnite?
I'm not. Well, we'll talk more about that too later on, especially.
That started the battle royale craze.
I'm more saying for the older ones that shaped us. Pouring one out more so from the nostalgia factor for a game like SOCOM that helped shape your gaming experience, Segly. You're clearly very passionate about it. Why did SOCOM mean so much to you?
It was the best game of all time. SOCOM was a arcade shooter that had competitive roots in it. So everybody started with the same guns. You couldn't you didn't need to unlock them whatsoever. There were eight people per team, and by the way, when you shoot somebody, they die. So it was a very weird concept for console shooters because guess what? Call of Duty, that netcode was ass, and then you had to unlock all the guns, and then they, if you were good at the game, you needed to feel like you were I don't know, got something. So
you had to
get
flex.
A perk or some shit like that, right? That was all bullshit. That's why, and then SOCOM also had what World of Warcraft, in my opinion, made World of Warcraft the biggest game of all time. They had a lobby system. So instead of going to a matchmaking system, which is what Xbox, and the party system had, SOCOM had a lobby system like what World of Warcraft would do.
Yeah.
So you would go into, I don't know, what's your World of Warcraft thing? Tichondrius. You go to Tichondrius and you might see the same people over and over and over and over.
Yeah,
right?
That's dope.
That would be the same thing that you would do in SOCOM.
I love that.
If you were in SOCOM 1, my server was West 3. Shout out to the veterans. And then in SOCOM 2, it was I was in West 5. AWOL Team Kills. What's up? As well as the SR and K9. Anyway, so you would go there, and then it would be like a real battle. You would represent. If you were in West 5, you knew that was the elite.
Could you
server.
kick people out?
No, you couldn't kick people out, but you could vote them out of games, but no one would do that because
you're just gonna stomp them.
Yeah, you just stomp them until they cried and they left, or they try to join your team, and then they would want to join your
clan,
the guild or the clan back in the day, right?
Squad.
No, that's lame, James. But yeah, so it was like an actual thing. Like later on in SOCOM, I joined an East 2 clan, and that was a big deal. Yeah. That was a big deal in the SOCOM realm because I was very good, and that was like LeBron going to. It wasn't LeBron. It was like Dwayne Wade going to Chicago or something like that. So it was a big third-person shooters. I still think are superior. Because it's so much more tactical, and you don't rely on your Twitch shooting.
That is true.
You have to plan what the fuck is about to happen. And with a game like SOCOM, where you shoot people and they die, you have to be smarter than everybody in the room. And that's why I like SOCOM. But that's the exact reason why it doesn't work anymore.
Third person also completely changes positioning in games like that because your vantage point is totally different. You can see around corners a little bit differently, and it just changes. People hate it, but it's not that it's worse. It's just different, and it's different than what people are used to because predominantly we're used to first person. But I think the third person games are amazing and have a lot to offer. One of the things that I read doing research for this episode was that SOCOM was one of the first PlayStation games that in North America that utilized the online services for PlayStation, and also maybe the first game that utilized the USB headset for PlayStation. And I was talking about the toxicity of Counter-Strike earlier, and granted, the PC community very toxic. I'll say League of Legends is probably more toxic than Counter-Strike, but Counter-Strike is pretty bad. But dude, console game lobbies back then, vile. I don't know what the hell's wrong with you guys that played console. You guys are fucking freaks.
I was a very happy player.
SOCOM had something that combat that, and people didn't like it, and I don't know why. So they kept with the party system where it was open mic, but you had to wait in line in order to talk. So you held a button, and if you hit that button first, you got to talk.
Wow.
And then it would go down the list.
Interesting.
Right. So it made it incredibly orderly. And if you wasted your time by screaming into the microphone, you got
People would
voted
yell at
out.
you. Yeah. That's kind of cool. It like really, it makes your guys' comms very precise because you don't have a lot of time to waste. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that people like. I mean, we could literally get into a whole episode about like competitive gaming, but like, if any of you guys at home aren't familiar with like competitive games, you should watch like a competitive Counter-Strike or Call of Duty match and listen to team comms, because the call outs and like the level of communication and how fast it's happening and how much information is being shared in a very short amount of time I mean, it's like a professional sport. Like it's like one word call outs that mean like a whole string of information.
Omaha.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah. So that's what killed the game is SOCOM 3. I'm very good at SOCOM 3, but that game did not have that system. They utilized a party system, and so the kids were screaming in your ear nonstop, and so everyone went back to SOCOM 2.
Yeah.
Damn.
And thus ended your SOCOM career essentially.
No, we still play every once in a while. There's rogue servers. Rogue servers for the PS2, pirate servers.
Nice. What were the main games where people would and we do not endorse this activity, this is heinous, and they got what they did? What was the swatting phenomenon? What game was that with?
Everything, I think. People were doing a lot. People were doing a lot in CS:GO when it was like the big stream Twitch game.
Just an absolute madness move that is, just some fucked up shit. The other game I wanted to talk about here was Gears of War, which when we were talking off the air was getting shat upon by Seglia and John. I really enjoyed Gears of War.
Real shocker there. The guy with the RCP 90 and Odd Job doesn't want a fucking crosshair on his first person shooter game.
Hey, look, I didn't make the design choice. I just played the game, and it reminded me of Warhammer 40K with the bolter with the chainsaw on it and everything like that. I dug that. Like there is something just incredibly satisfying about taking that chainsaw to the enemy there. Like I really enjoyed it. I'm not saying I was great at it. I'm not saying it's a, I liked the franchise though.
Wait, you were bad at Gears of War?
Well, I'm not saying I was great. I'm not saying I was the best at it.
He wasn't good.
I'm just saying.
I don't even know if you could be the best at it.
Did you even play with me, Davis?
I remember playing with you. You were not good.
Well, okay, fair enough. You remember? To be fair, that does sound like me playing Gears of War, so I'll have to take your word for it.
I enjoyed the game.
I recognize Gears of War's contributions to the genre. It's the only shooter, as far as I can remember, where aim is an approximation and a non-exact science. Like you just kind of generally point your character near something.
It's aiming in theory. It's more in the abstract. It's more in the abstract,
The only reason that game got any play is because Microsoft paid MLG to run a fucking league for them.
It's a philosophical shooter.
And so people saw it on MLG and they thought it was really cool, and they had chainsaws. Like, oh my god, chainsaws! That's a crazy thing in a shooter. Because in every other shooter, you would just shoot the guy with the chainsaw and he'd be dead.
Yeah. I do like
therefore I am.
Like, professional players and the amount of trash that they talk like mid tournament, which like in most esports is banned, like that kind of unsportsmanlike conduct. But it's like encouraged in Gears of War and in Call of Duty to an extent. I do love that, but ultimately, I think Gears of War, probably its best contribution was like the LAN culture that was created around it. But I feel like Halo.
Already had that.
Yeah.
I feel for me, Gears of War was. Again, it was just a more gimmicky, like it was the next thing, but it wasn't as good as Halo. But I did really enjoy it, and there were definitely a lot of late nights playing Gears of War with friends and stuff like that when it first came out. Especially, it was a ton of fun. Davis, what do you think of Gears of War?
You guys talk about the chainsaw. That was like the worst move to do because it would go to like a cinematic sequence. It was
I loved it. It looked great though. Again, reminded me of 40K.
Yeah. You see somebody do it, it's like, all right, here's a grenade, and you were stuck there and you couldn't do anything about it. You were dead.
You're just swagging. It's just a swag kill. Like, when you're up by so much that it's like I could do this. Like,
but it was pretty swaggy.
That's how much better I am. I can do this.
Yeah. No, but it was a lot of fun. But I don't have as good of memories with Gears of War as I do with some other games like Halo and all that. It was fun and it had its place, but I don't think it was revolutionary in all that many ways.
It was revolutionary because you didn't need to aim. That was revolutionary.
Yeah, for the bad reasons.
It was in the abstract, you know? It's just the general area. All right, we're going to leave those right there. We're going to take one more break. On the other side, we're going to talk about Halo, Call of Duty, and more. We're talking shooters on the Best Damn Nerd Show. Nerdosphere. It's the microphone alchemist Bimbo Jimbo here, and we want you to be in on the conversation with us. So sound off to us in our Discord. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at the BDNS. And you know, maybe you actually like the Star Wars prequels and sequels. Maybe you think the MCU should be a comedy open mic night on the big screen. Whatever you think, we love to feature the hottest takes from our fans on the show. So remember, if you're a nerd, always say it loud and say it proud.
Hey guys, it's the loquacious anime and manga lover Jahns here. Now I have watched a lot of anime and I've read an abundance of manga, so you would think that I have a pretty interesting opinion on the culture. From classics like Golden Boy and Ghost in the Shell to masterpieces such as Psycho Pass and Gantz. Come and join me as I talk about the world of anime and manga, which has had a huge impact on my life. And who knows, whatever I talk about and recommend to you guys could become one of your favorite series.
Ammo with Jammers.
It's the microphone alchemist Bimbo Jimbo here, and when I'm not verbally super kicking Last Jedi fans on the Best Damn Nerd Show, or fantasy casting The Rock in another movie on the DLC, well, that's when I actually get to talk about wrestling. That's right, come join me in the Wrestling War Room, where I take my mic to the mat and launch my hot takes about the Wednesday Night War between AEW and NXT. The Wrestling War Room, which side are you on? Welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. Bimbo Jimbo here with Chris Davis, Chris Seglia, and Jonathan Craig, and we are talking shooters, mostly first-person and multiplayer and the varietal of that like. But, you know, we've taken some detours and everything like that, and we've danced around a couple of big-time entries into first-person shooters, and that is Halo and Call of Duty that I want to get into next. Two titans, again, of the genre. We were talking a little bit off the air. Call of Duty for me, never got into it. It's just it is the FIFA of first-person shooters to me. It seems like every year it was the same commercial for the exact same video game, and the same people were like falling all over themselves, acting like it was this revolutionary deal. And I just never could, like, what is the big fucking deal about Call of Duty at the end of the day? It was just the same thing over and over again. You love Call of Duty, John.
Well, I didn't like you. I was not a big fan originally. In fact, I remember when we first met Davis was a big time Call of Duty player. And I think it's because like Modern Warfare had just come out. And so we would come back to the dorm every day and Davis would be like in his underwear on the couch playing Modern Warfare in some level of drunkenness.
Sounds right.
Yeah. And you know, calling people all the different names that you call them when you're in an Xbox lobby. And I just remember watching him play, and I was still like playing Counter-Strike at the time and just thinking like, God, this guy, like, if only he played real games. Like if only Davis could play a game that takes skill.
So this is the height of your shooter snobbery then.
Oh, totally. Since then I've come around because I feel like the Call of Duty games, while I hate the fact that there's a new one every year, I hate the fact that they're doing Battle Royale now. And I personally don't like when they do World War II. Like, I feel like those ones just suck, in my opinion. I like the Modern Warfare ones a lot better. But the Call of Duty games are fucking crisp. They are crisp. They play really good. They feel really good. They handle really good. The hitboxes are really good. The online modes, at least on PC, when I've played recently, have been really good. And like, they're very, very fun. The time to kill is very short. So like, they're very arcadey in that way. You kill someone in like a couple hits and then move on to the next kill. It's all about like getting kill streaks and just going crazy and going ham and just wiping out an entire team and spawn camping them and calling them names while you do it. And It's just hype, dude. It's just a hype game series. I don't know what to tell you, boys.
No.
Davis knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Davis.
It's a lot of hype. I mean, it's I really fell out after MW2 because it was like it just kept rehashing the same shit over and over again, and I wanted something more genuine, and I ended up moving to Battlefield, which we can talk about later. But Call of Duty, there's so much going on. It just got to be too much. The kill streaks were fun, but then it adds this other element to it where it just seems.
Well, once it turns snowballs, it's like really annoying.
Yeah. Can we talk about kill streaks real quick before you go on? Who the fuck thought that was a good idea?
It's so bad.
It's like the opposite. Like most games have a mechanic where like if you're on the ropes, there's like a comeback mechanic, like V triggers, or like in Counter-Strike, like max loss bonuses. In Call of Duty, they're like, fuck that. Let's only reward you if you're doing really, really, really good, and let's make it impossible for the other team. Like if you get a kill streak to a certain point, like I mean, you can literally just nuke the server. So like that's
it's so backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever it is.
Yeah, clearly. Easy for you to say.
It's why are you doing this? You're making the really good players unstoppable. It makes it no fun.
It's fun for them.
I had a great time sometimes here and there when I was doing well, but it really made no sense when you look back on it. And I really went away from that game.
Yeah,
pretty quickly after that. Kept going.
You were heavy into it though in college, or at least
did you nerd rage a lot during Call of Duty, Davis?
Oh
yeah, I mean there's some very suspect kills on there where you just want to murder something, and it's always a kid that's gonna get to you, that's gonna be talking shit, that has this high squeaky voice. And it's like, oh man, if I knew where you live.
He lives at his parents' house, has better internet than you, and that's why he killed you.
Yep.
Yeah, because I'm lagging out because I'm on university internet,
dude,
sharing with 10,000 other people.
Yeah, and your roommates are all like streaming and downloading porn while they're playing video games as well. But
yeah, they're over in the other room jacking off to World of Warcraft, little fairies and.
Dude, I would have you know that we were very hardcore
because you live with Tim.
Time for that.
Whatever character you try to play.
Have you broken, Davis?
That's a great question.
So.
Because let me set the scene for that question too, because there was a time when we used to review movies and Davis's rating scale was controllers versus broken controllers, because you did it so often that it was part of intrinsically how you looked at the world. So yeah, how many controllers did you break, Davis? Fantastic question.
Okay, I mean, I know I had to swap out good and bad controllers from friends, like just kind of had to like ease it in. Like,
wow!
You did that to me.
You judged
that
me.
To me.
You judged me.
Yeah, you're stealing from friends, dude. John is fighting for the the little guy.
You judged me for the graphics card hustle that my brilliant entrepreneurial 11-year-old brain came up with, and here you are stealing from friends.
Ocean's 11-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, were we friends at that time, though? You're judging me in my underwear, walking into your Warcraft room.
You were at my house and took one of my controllers.
Yours? Yeah, that's possible.
I'm
friends,
almost positive
Davis.
that Davis like red ringed his Xbox and then switched his out with mine too. Like he did it with the entire Xbox.
Segly gave me his. Don't
it.
act like I took that. Huh?
I had to fix your Xbox one time, and then I guess I gave you my Xbox that I don't remember doing.
Let's not be like Tim and be an iPod giver. let's not do that.
So like total, like legit.
I broke double digits at least.
So
what a waste of money, and your friend's money too, apparently.
Growing up in the SOCOM world, my parents were very anti-video game, right? Like my dad liked Pac-Man or whatever, right? But I was playing SOCOM, a game that killed people, right? So my Asian mother did not like that very much. So I broke one controller and I said, hey, Mom, I need to buy another controller. And she says, that means you need to get a job. So I got a job for that, and I broke a headset. So I broke one controller and one headset in my total of playing video games, because after that, I found out that I need to play with a pillow next to me. So I threw the controller down on the pillow.
Hilarious.
Instead.
That's a veteran move.
That's some ingenuity right there.
My cousin, the pant shitter, he ripped his keyboard. He ripped his keyboard out of his controller and snapped it over his leg one day in the middle of a scrim.
I was like, dude, Bo Jackson with the bat, but it's the keyboard.
Yeah, and we're like, dude, we're gonna need you to find another keyboard, man. Like, there's more rounds.
That's a bold decision, by the way, because that's breaking your keyboard, which you use for everything, not just video games. Like, that's yikes, dude.
You have to start putting something soft next to it, and if you want to get more destructive, then you just have a knife and you just kind of take it to the pillow every once in a while.
What?
What the fuck?
What did you just admit to? Dude, honestly, the most frustrating thing about Call of Duty is that makes me mad, and honestly has been the reason why I'll like force quit before even like finishing games sometimes, is the spawns in that game. Even today, they still haven't figured this out. The fact that you'll be like running and someone will spawn right behind you and be facing you is so infuriating.
So that's why I don't understand why you don't like the battle royale part of Call of Duty. That they figured it out. Like, I mean, there's no more respawn on that.
I think I'm just over battle royale.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I get that, but Call of Duty, they have 3 developers only making one game, and they can't figure out the spawns over the last 20 years. Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer, like, they all can't share
the same
secrets.
game every year, and they can't fix it.
Yeah, no wonder the game's so crisp, except for the spawns.
And
so
honestly,
they
like
just focus on the battle royale.
That release schedule for Call of Duty is one of the reasons why I didn't like the game too. Like, I feel like I was spoiled being on PC, where we would have like one game for like 6 years, and it would just like it would find its maturation point where like it had been balanced and tweaked to a good point, and then the community itself would like create rules around it, and then that's just the game that people mastered. But consoles, like, you guys had to endure just every fucking year.
Can you imagine
a new game that you have to learn?
Can you imagine being a professional Call of Duty player?
No.
Every year you have to. Well, it's basically the same game, right? But you have to relearn.
It was
maps.
until they started. I mean, I don't think there were a lot of pros before Modern Warfare. I think that's when it really exploded. But like, every year it's like, all right, back to World War II, or now we're in Modern Warfare again, or now we're in Black Ops and we're fucking floating through the air like Halo. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck is this? It's a completely different genre of game.
Well, it's every 3 years.
Marshmallow ass game.
And the player is only like one of the 3 developers. They only like the Black Ops games for some reason. And they keep letting Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer make these World War II games or these advanced warfare games.
The World War II ones are complete dog shit. I cannot play those.
I don't understand it. Like, you just hear the players just complain about it, but now they're making billions of dollars, so they don't complain as much.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, what about? Okay, so we've talked about Call of Duty. On the sort of other side of this same discussion is Halo, which I think is a much more sort of revered franchise. It's certainly in the early going with Halo 1 and 2 being, just big time landmark achievements in gaming for themselves and everything like that. Again, based off of Tribes, shout out to Tribes and everything like that. But, for that great free game, how into Halo did we all get? Because when we were talking about LAN parties and, attributing it to Gears of War, for me, the first time that really burst onto the scene was playing Halo. And gosh, the elements that game layered in with the fact that, like, I remember vividly, like, it being mind blowing to me that you could get on the Warthog, one person drives, one person gets to,
cool.
Rock the gun and everything like it was just, and then playing the story mode with somebody. I remember just staying up to all hours of the night, just like playing the game all the way through, and then doing multiplayer. Red versus Blue, as a byproduct of Halo. Like, what a great fucking game Halo is. And I feel like it's gotten kind of tarnished a little bit over the years, sort of run through the mud a little bit, or maybe not as well thought of as when it first burst onto the scene. But I fucking loved Halo. Davis, how much compared to Call of Duty? How into the Halo were you?
We were much more into Halo than I would say our Call of Duty years. It was everywhere. When Halo came out, it was at every house, every friend's house. Parties were centered around it. For us kids that didn't have the computer like that, because you had to spend a lot more money to build a good computer for these games, and a lot of the kids didn't have one, and so we had the consoles, and those were the kids that got together and played Halo together, and it was kind of the first introduction for that group for a LAN experience, and it was something else that we just never had, and those were probably some of the most memorable video game experiences of my life, is having 4 different rooms, 4 screens, 16 people in the house,
yelling at each other from room to room.
Exactly.
Davis being like, hey, where on the map are you?
No screen looking then, because you're all on the same team.
Davis devised a very complex system of mirrors that would...
like on his shoes.
Yeah. And then the co-op on the story mode was superb. The story was great, but the multiplayer is just so many stories of just things that would happen, just like John was talking about earlier, when they would go to these tournaments and like they actually happen. Like that's part of our life. Like that, those were moments that we had in those games. And I think one of my favorite things that I would do is on the Blood Gulch level, there's one bush in the middle of the map. I would hide behind that with a rocket launcher and yell Viet Cong as a warthog goes by and blow it up.
Oh my god, dude. God, again.
Dude, on that, dude, I actually have a...
So in turn, so what Davis is saying, and he's attributing that to being part of his real life. What Davis is saying is that he was in Vietnam. Like that's what Davis just said.
Flashbacks, man.
I have a similar memory, not yelling out racist things like you, but on Blood Gulch we were playing like sticky grenade mode only or something.
Oh
like
my
that.
god, dude! Fuck.
And we were at my friend's house after school one day, and I did something, and I was like talking trash, and I got up and yelled like, "Oh man, we might have to edit this, but we'll see." Look, hey, it was a different me. I was 14 years old. I didn't know what I was saying.
Let's just stop right there.
Times have changed. I got up. No, I'm gonna say it. I got up and I yelled, "Yeah, you just got fucked in the ass!" And like the second that it came out of my mouth, the kid's dad walked around the corner, and we didn't know he was home. We would go to my friend's house every day because his parents didn't get home till 5 or 6 o'clock after work or whatever. And I yelled it, and he came around the corner, and like I was immediately banned from this kid's house, never allowed to go back ever. Yeah, it changed everything, and I was like, damn. But it was a good play, so like I feel like I would do it again if I was given the chance. You know?
You guys know my old roommate Mike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to go to his house after high school, but we would have 16 people over almost every Friday, Saturday, Sunday to play. And he had the perfect house for this too. They had 4 TVs. Everybody brought Xboxes over. And so 2 teams would go into 2 different rooms. And then the other 2 teams would stay in the family room. And it was legit. We had 16 people every weekend for like 52 weeks straight. It was crazy.
I'll be honest, like I love the stories and the memories, but like even then I just remember thinking like, man, this bullshit ass marshmallow ass slow motion ass low gravity ass game. Like these guys have the slowest reactions, no aim having ass console players. You guys suck.
No way, dude.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime, any game.
Any game.
Any game. Hey, controller versus
I love it.
Controller, mouse. Controller versus mouse. And
I think mouse is easier.
That sounds like a potential maybe a Patreon reward or some type of Twitch stream in the near future that I would love to see it.
I was working on a gaming show when I was at Machinima, and this kid would talk. He was a console player and would talk mad shit. He was a Gears player. I should have known. He would talk so much shit about mouse and keyboard, and I was like, dude, you aren't better. Like, you don't have better aim. You're trash. And he would talk so much trash to me. So one day he was like, all right, let's 1v1 in Overwatch. And we did like a 1-to-5 1v1 as like soldier or something, just like a character that doesn't have a lot of abilities. And I watched him 4-0 and it got to the last kill. And like beforehand, some of the other guys on the show had like put money on it that I would win. And I just started like fucking with him on the last. They put money that I would win and not die because I was like talking so much trash. And I got to like the last kill, and I was just like messing with him, like peeking around corners, like talking trash, like doing whatever. And he lands a Soldier 76 rocket like directly on my face and it didn't kill me, but it got me to the point where if he hit me like one more time, I would have died. And so I had to like kite him around and heal. And finally, I did it, because PC players are better. But
wow, okay.
So I would do that too. When Overwatch first came out, we would travel with this comic book, like Comic-Con essentially, Wizard World, and we would go to all these different places. And one of the segments was, if you can beat this console player, then with mouse and keyboard, then you would win like, I don't know, some Wizard World prize. And they had to play McCree, and it was left click only, so right trigger only as for consoles, and it's just one shot, one kill tapping. Essentially. I think I lost twice total.
Wow, that's impressive. That is impressive. So maybe we might have to do this after all.
I'm down
in Overwatch.
I think that might have to be that might have to happen. But back to Halo though, just in terms of like the amount of memory, and to me, Goldeneye was like a moment in time that I will always remember. And then the next sort of like from that genre is Halo. Mm-hmm. Like those to me, for me, were like the two pillars of like the multiplayer first person shooters of like when I was having the most fun and like that just really stood out the most to me. Especially the first Halo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Halo 2 was really was so good though.
The second one brought on some kind of controversial things, like for dual wielding. A lot of people did not like that.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it was something different. But it did, I don't know, it did kind of turn a lot of people off because it kind of, I don't know, including myself, and they also really dulled down the pistols and stuff.
Yeah, they definitely did.
So,
what did you think of Halo 3?
It was fine. Nothing.
I really liked Halo 3, actually.
No, the story. I like the stories in all of them. Like the single player games are great. I still like them all. For 1 through 3, 2 was mediocre. 1 and 3 were good. But the multiplayer in 3 was just kind of whatever.
I actually thoroughly enjoyed the multiplayer in Halo 3. That one, some of the maps in that one really, were fun to play for me. Just the sort of scope of them all. But you mentioned the sort of the story mode. Master Chief is also like now an iconic video game character to come out of like, this genre. And I know, John, you'd argue for Gordon Freeman and stuff like that, but James Bond's already an established character, obviously, in his own fiction. So really when it comes to, first person shooter characters, it's hard to argue against the Master Chief being like the guy, coming out for John, you don't agree?
Who are you going with?
I think that this is a debate that we should definitely schedule for the single player version of this episode, because there's too much, dude. It's too much to get into right now. I don't necessarily know that Gordon Freeman is the top, although I would argue that he's in the top couple, but I don't know about Master Chief, dude.
You're not
you don't know about Master Chief?
No, I know about Master Chief.
Master Chief's look is iconic. He is a dumbass. Cortana is
him himself. Yeah,
Cortana is the only redeeming part about any of the Halo stories at all.
No, man, Master Chief looks great.
Doesn't matter.
Version of Samus. Love them.
The only good part about Halo's single player was that Fusion Frenzy was also on that disc.
Oh my god! It all comes back to Fusion Frenzy.
Another fucking Fusion Frenzy guy. Okay.
Can we just real quick? Fusion Frenzy was really good, but I will take money matches in Mario Party any day of the week. I wasn't on that episode, and I'm mad that I missed it. But I will take any takers to any Mario Party.
I love it.
Or on that Kenny Omega, he got
he did get owned.
Yeah,
in Japan.
Sam's gonna pay his mortgage, so everybody.
TCC does that for me every time, so my mortgage is fine.
Ooh, shots fired! Someone clip that.
John pays it with stolen video cartridges. So,
dude, we used to. I mean, dude, it's funny how much gambling is like a part of these games. Like, we used to go to the LAN center and we'd be practicing for tournaments, and we would like 1v1 kids for money, and then use that money to pay for more hours at the LAN center on Counter-Strike.
Yeah, that's the other thing that certainly in my community that Halo gave birth to, and like Counter-Strike and games like that, is like the idea of like going to play like these like LAN cafes kind of deal to play.
Oh, so fun, man.
That was something that I don't remember seeing before that era, obviously. So
they were so popular then, they kind of faded away. Then they made a resurgence. I think they faded away largely because like things started to go in the direction of World of Warcraft for a while, and then they've started to come back since like League of Legends has become massive now with like Fortnite and other games. Like it's the LAN. I love the LAN center environment, and I have so many fond memories of like screaming.
Dude, our LAN center where I grew up was called Tweaked. So it's just like encouraging people to be on copious amounts of like Mountain Dew Code Red or like Buku or whatever.
We would have like scandals at our LAN center where people would get busted like hacking and cheating. Like at the LAN center, they would like bring hacks and install them. It's like you like that's a real bold piece of shit move right there.
Give them an inch, they'll take a mile for sure. Okay, before we wrap up tonight, there's a few other games I want to touch on. Obviously, maybe that I'm not super familiar with, but it's obviously a huge game. It's like one of the biggest ones in the world. Fortnite took the whole world by storm. I don't have any sort of frame of reference or into Fortnite. For those that do, school me on Fortnite, if you will. And what's the deal with the dances? So I don't know. I'm an old man.
The truth is, like, if you look at like the people that listen to our show, like I don't even know if we have a single listener under age 22. So I don't know that there's like a lot of like Fortnite players that listen to us. For the older fogies that listen to us, I'm sure everyone's familiar with Fortnite. It's the biggest thing to come out of the battle royale genre. I mean, a lot of people watch Warzone, a lot of people watched Apex Legends and a couple other games, but Fortnite, I feel like, had the biggest cultural splash for a lot of reasons. I think it was the first game. It was like the perfect time for these kids that grew up playing Minecraft, where they were finally allowed to play shooters, and it had building elements like Minecraft did, like gathering and building elements. So it wasn't strictly a shooter. And it was like a weird hybrid game where like, instead of just like seeing someone doing battle, you would like start building and then like build towards each other and like build around each other and like take a wall and then shoot each other that through the wall or whatever. I mean, like Ninja and these giant streaming phenomenons came out of the game, and the Ninja Drake like stream moment came out of the game, and I think everything about it is just built to be a meme. Like the costumes, the
dances, bro.
The dances.
I asked you a question,
like,
soldier.
Yeah, no, the dances were like I think they like included a couple in the game, then they realized that it was becoming a cultural phenomenon on like Musically, which became TikTok. And they're like undeniably the people who are on the Fortnite team at Epic, like they just understand who their audience is more than I think any other game has ever understood it, and they are catering directly to them. They also like perfectly understand like gaming different mechanics, like season passes and like selling costumes and stuff. And like there's all these stories of kids getting bullied at school because they don't have the latest costume or they don't have the cool costumes. To me, I know that that's not fair. I wouldn't want my child being bullied, But on the other hand, like that's also the mark of a really good game. Like if you're a game developer, you want kids getting bullied over your game at school. Like that's the fucking dream. You've made it, dude. And Fortnite takes the cake. I don't like Fortnite. I don't like playing Fortnite. I think the battle royale genre was really, really great. PUBG, I feel like, was my favorite, even though that was a terrible, terrible game to like. But it's just a terrible, like janky ass game. But Fortnite stomped it, dude. It fucking stomped it. Like PUBG came out, made this giant splash, and then Fortnite just came out and like crushed their dreams. They were like, and you're gone. Like, does anyone play PUBG anymore? Honestly,
my barber, but I haven't seen him in months.
Except like hackers in China. I mean, honestly,
it's one of the free PS4 Plus games. This
of course
month.
it is.
Yeah.
No, I'm still on Fall Guys.
Right on that.
I think I actually do think PUBG has like a big mobile community now in other countries.
So the PUBG thing, I'll tell this real quick. My only experience with PUBG is like I had seen like ads for it and stuff like that, and I was like, John, your description was perfect. I was like, that looks like a janky ass game. And so I was at my barber shop, and it was like a guy that like works there but never cuts my hair, but that it was my turn to have him, and he's playing PUBG on his phone. And he's like, here, just play the game. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And he's like watching me try and play as he's cutting my hair. I'm like, this is not a fucking good situation for me to be in, and that's my only. And I was awful at it, of course. Segly, I think you're familiar with the Fortnite though a little bit as well. What is your take on Fortnite?
I don't understand it as far as like. I don't understand it. I don't think that it's a good game. I understand watching it. I think watching it is very interesting because the building and like the third person aspect of it, watching it watching a game in third person is actually much better in my opinion as a SOCOM player. But there is a rock paper scissors element to the game where you either build, you shoot, or you shield yourself essentially, and there's ways of shielding yourself with building, and it's a game that takes an immense amount of Twitch ability that I do not have as a 30-plus-year-old.
Yeah,
anymore,
it's definitely
right?
for 14-year-olds with
So,
zoomer aim.
I think Fortnite is cool. I like PUBG a lot, but I wasn't very good at it. I was much better at it when it was third person than when everybody cried because they wanted first person. That's what ruined the game.
I totally agree with you.
It completely ruined the game, and the developers don't understand why.
The game was never meant to be first person. It wasn't. It was kind of janky as third, but at least it felt good. I just thought it just felt terrible as first person.
Yeah, it definitely never meant I don't think a battle royale game is meant to be first person because you have to the entire idea of battle royale is that you have to plan, and there's a forced circle essentially forcing you into that plan or changing your plan.
Yeah.
And in first person shooters, you don't know what's around that corner, so you can't plan your most immediate move.
Right.
But you can in Fortnite, and you actually get rid of that first obstacle of not knowing what's around that corner by building and making yourself safe. So
I would say that Apex Legends probably came the closest to solving that problem because of movement speed and because of just the fast-paced nature of the game. I think that Battle Royale as a genre is incredibly limiting, and there's a lot of like randomness and RNG to it that I think ultimately drives a lot of people away because it really does come down to like who gets good circles. Like if you're in one of the final circles and you're fortified in like a little area and you have like good cover and all that stuff, and you don't have to like move a lot and expose yourself by rotating, you're in a really, really good position. Same with Fortnite. Like if you've built this giant structure and you can just kind of chill around there for a little while and like camp on your resources. But if you get screwed on circles and have to move across the entire map, like you're using health, you're using shields, you're using materials just to get to the next circle. It's like, it's a bummer. And that's a problem that is just a genre problem that I just don't know if anyone's going to be able to solve.
I think Warzone actually fix that problem, because what they did is that you're allowed to respawn, which I was just saying that was shit beforehand, right? But you die because of something that was out of your control very early on in the game. You go inside the gulag. The gulag allows you to respawn wherever the fuck you want. It just drops you in there, or it allows your team to buy you back in too. So if they win the gunfight, they can buy you back in. Cool. And then the RNG aspect of the guns and the resources and everything, they fix that as well by dropping in a loadout. So you create your own personalized loadout that you want. And if you have enough money, which is not very much because I see it dropped all the time in Warzone, that takes away the RNG factor for that. So the only thing that they've got against them is that it's fucking first person. So you don't know what's going wrong with around that corner. So you can't make that first move as far as making your plan, because you could have like the greatest plan of all time, but if you don't know what's coming around that corner, then you can't do it. So
we are definitely running late into the night, but there's a couple other games that I think deserve to at least be mentioned, and one of those is the Battlefield and Battlefront series of games. I was a big fan of the Star Wars Battlefront genre of those games. I had a lot of fun playing them. Davis, where do you come down on those?
Yeah,
not just Star Wars, but
yeah, no. Battlefield I switched to after Modern Warfare and played for a few years. I really enjoyed that one because it just seemed somewhat more realistic. That Call of Duty got too cartoony for me, and then Battlefield just kind of started easing that way a little bit more and more, and that's when it lost me too. But Battlefront, especially Battlefront 2 for Star Wars, not the I think it was the PlayStation 2 version, is that right? That one we played a lot, and that was a lot of fun. It's Star Wars, it was really I thought it was really well made. It was very smooth. Get to play as Jedi, so that's pretty sweet. However, the newest Battlefront for Star Wars was a big swing and miss for me. They did so much pay to win.
Yeah.
And it was so depressing when you realize that's what it was. Because you get it. You understand what they're doing. It's just unfortunate that it went that way.
Who's EA making games for? Because even Madden Ultimate Team, if you want to have a good team, it costs $2,000 to buy enough packs to outfit your team. And then they release a new game 11 months later. It's fucking ridiculous.
I can tell you who they're making games for. It's for the publisher. It's for the consoles makers. That's who they're making it for, because if they get one whale, that pays for 1,000 of us, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they're going for. And
the pay to win stuff. We were talking about Perfect Dark making you buy the memory expansion for N64. Now it's all the DLC, all the pay to win in those games. It's nothing compared to Perfect Dark deserves its due. Damn it! But Valorant,
the gaming industry forever.
Valorant is one that I know, Segs, that I've watched you play it. I've watched John play it. What is your guys' take on Valorant? Segs, we'll start with you.
I think the gameplay of Valorant is very good. The community of Valorant is probably the worst thing I've ever been a part of in my entire life.
Why?
What?
Why?
What's wrong
because
with
it takes League of Legends, which is a toxic community,
The
and
most
breeds
toxic.
it with bad Counter-Strike players, and then they merge together with people who want to play a new game.
And you said bad Counter-Strike players.
And
that is hilarious.
They have decided that they are better than everybody else in every single game that they've ever played, and it forces voice comm.
Fucking hilarious.
It forces.
That is so true.
So
for people who don't understand what Segly is saying, people who are good at Counter-Strike, really good at Counter-Strike, they are currently professional Counter-Strike players getting paid good money and competing, and they are good players. There's a whole second tier crop of players. The same thing has happened throughout the history of first person shooters that aren't good enough to be on a professional team, but still think that they're fucking God's gift to these games. And as soon as a new game comes out, they like flock to it. And Valorant is that game now. So you have these guys who are like bitter because they're like not as good as the pros, but they think that they are. They think that they deserve to be. And so they flock to new games and they just keep moving game to game. And like they're all on Valorant right now talking shit to Cynical.
So just me, my voice, as soon as I say anything, it becomes a focal point of the game. You have your voice mod on, bro. Just go smoke your 18 packs of cigarettes a day, It's just terrible.
And then if you don't talk, then they call you out for not.
Yeah, so they need a good ping system. I mean, honestly, I play with a lot of women in this game too, and I couldn't imagine playing this game solo as a woman.
Rough.
Like it's like think all of the Call of Duty, like people who are just screaming at the top of their lungs with the ability to buy a PC. Like I just can't. I just can't imagine being a woman and playing this game. It's
funny you bring up being a woman playing first person shooter. There's that video on YouTube. I don't even know if it's on there anymore, but this like girl playing Halo or whatever, and like all of the guy players were just like jumping toward her and like trying to get her to like add them, and like the final line of the video is like, just add me, I don't even care if you're really a guy. It's just like so sad.
Yeah, it's not great, dude. It's not great.
No, not great. All right, the final thought I want to end with tonight, and I know we're burning the midnight oil here, but I have it down as our closing discussion: shooters for PC or shooters for console. Who reigns supreme? We've touched on this a little bit between Segs and John sparring. So I will kick it over to the two experts once again. Why, pray tell, John, is shooting for PC better, and then Segs, why is shooting for console better? I assume that's where you guys come down.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Segs.
PCs are way better. 1,000 times better. And you know why? I can plug my controller in if I want to.
Okay, I was not expecting that.
There are so many more games for PC that it doesn't matter. It's so easy. The net code for console games is trash nowadays. Absolute trash. I don't know any game that is like, oh, this feels good on console in comparison to PC. And
what about player base?
But there's
what about
a bunch of low.
What about controller versus mouse and keyboard?
Oh, mouse and keyboard is infinitely easier. Like, controller actually takes skill to use. Mouse and keyboard, you just point and click.
See, for me, I will say that to me it feels like an entirely different skill set, because when I dipped a toe into Counter-Strike, it was at UC Davis. I was visiting some friends, and they plopped me in front of their computer and had me play Counter-Strike. And I am just used to playing, outside of Wolfenstein, just playing on console. So it's been years at this point, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing with the mouse and keyboard kind of deal? I mean, so I definitely am more of a duck in water when it comes to the controller. John, you also seem to blanch at the assertion that mouse and keyboard is easier.
I think it's easier.
I love the reaction.
It's easier to the extent that you have like a wider range of movement and you have more precise aim ability quicker. It's just easier to aim at a specific place more accurately and quicker than on a controller. It is easier, but that doesn't necessarily make it
less skillful.
It's easier in the sense that like the equipment has the ability to do it, but the actual skill to do it is infinitely more complex. Dude, the reality is that console games being built for a controller for years and years were built with no verticality because they didn't want their players to have to aim up and down and left to right. They were all built with auto aim in mind. So hitboxes were all built so that players basically just had aimbots to run around. The spawn points were often not built so that you would get flanked and have to do like 180 turnarounds and flick someone in the head. And all the games are way slower paced than games like Quake, which is, like the fastest game on the market. And not to mention, like, because PC hardware is so much more advanced than what is available in consoles and can advance at a quicker rate faster than new consoles come out, people are constantly pushing the limits on frames per second, on refresh rates on monitors, on literally every component of a PC, and you have players that are conditioned to be able to react quicker than console players can.
Seglia, your rebuttal.
So that makes it easier. Everything that you just said makes mouse and keyboard easier. Sure, it might be more skillful as far as like you need to point and click a little bit more precise. But you know what? If I play on controller, I turn auto aim off on PC and on PlayStation, and I'm still better than 90% of those motherfuckers. With them,
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that because I think
nothing's harder than trying to aim in Gears of War, though.
I think in shooters, like movement and map awareness is more important than aim a lot of times. Not all the time, but a lot of times. And so I think if you're like an intelligent player and you have experience playing tactically in games, you can make up for your lack of like zoomer, reflexes. But I think the word easier is sort of misrepresenting what's happening a little bit. Like the games are harder to play than console shooters. The reason James can't sit down on Counter-Strike is partly because he's not used to mouse and keyboard, but it's also partly because on console games you can just run and gun, and on Counter-Strike you have to like stop moving to shoot, and so you have to learn how to like strafe shoot and like actually control your fucking player. You know what I mean? But the actual part that is easy that you're trying, like it's not move, like what I'm talking about is aiming in the actual yes. Clicking heads. Raw aim is easier with a mouse, except that controller players use auto aim. Even in Fortnite, it's like a huge controversy now because it's completely they use auto aim, but that doesn't make it better. Auto aim makes it easier than manually aiming. Automatic aim is easier. In most games like Fortnite is not as accurate. So it locks on different aspects of what you want. I think that might have been true at one point, but like I have worked with and I have watched professional Fortnite players that are now hybrid players. Like we are in a completely new era where professional shooter players on PC have started integrating controller into their game, and some of these guys literally will have a controller and mouse and keyboard. They'll play mouse and keyboard for part of the game, and they'll play controller for others. They're using auto aim when they use the controller because it tracks hitboxes automatically. They don't have to manually aim, so that is easier than like manually aiming your mouse and keyboard at your opponent.
John, quit throwing shit around.
I know, sorry, I just bumped my water bottle down.
So aggressive.
But I will concede that the fact that PC gamers have come around and have started incorporating controller play into their game is troubling and it's
interesting how that's happening.
It does hurt me. It does cut me deep because I've been anti-controller for so long, but I'll get over it. My biggest thing is that I think that if James played
I like how I'm the fucking guinea pig.
Yeah.
If James went into
Tell me about the rabbits
today, went into the bots, like the training ground, he would kill more people with a pistol, mouse and keyboard than he would controller. And I think that's free. I think that's true. If auto aim is not on. Yeah, I agree. I don't think I'm taking auto aim out of the equation. Yeah.
What if we left auto aim on? Not because I
think you'd
it,
miss.
but just because we left it on.
Honestly, I think you'd miss because it wouldn't go for heads. It would go for body.
I also
okay.
The other concession I'm willing to make here is I think for years, because of the design of some of these console games, like it just was easier for console players because like your FOV was smaller. You didn't have to worry about like enemies coming from as many places on maps. That has changed as console players have gotten more skilled. And like when you watch professional Call of Duty players, and the new game does have a lot of verticality on the maps, like these guys are capable of flicking, of doing 360s, of doing ridiculous shit with their controllers. And sometimes you wouldn't realize that they're on a controller. So the gap is closing and things are changing, and you know, my old hatred for or not hatred, my old like condescension for controller players is
You said hatred.
Is going to be forced to be weeded out, but you know, I'll hold on to it as long as I can.
I think this is a fun discussion that we will have to pick up. I like the idea of a match game series, apparently doing some type of weird first-person shooter testing on me like I'm fucking Flowers for Algernon over here. But we're going to leave first-person shooters and all of their greatness right there. I hope you've all enjoyed the episode. Have a great week, everyone. And remember, if you're a nerd, always say it loud and say it proud. Pew pew.
Hey everyone, Chris Seglia, CEO of the Tenno Media Network here. Thank you so much for listening to our content, but we need your help. Please rate us 5 stars, subscribe, and give us a shining review wherever you listen to this podcast. It really, really helps us out. And one more thing, please tell a friend if you can. Tell them Tasty Steve, Hanzo Gonzo, Markman, Rip, Ricky Replay, or someone who everyone loves sent you or something. That might help. Anyway, again, thank you for listening. And if you want more, make sure to check us out at www.ten-o.gg, www.10o.gg.